I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.
Hello there, Price of Reason here with a movie review. Since 2017, due to Hollywood's ongoing obsession with peddling trendy agendas, we've been getting less and less high-profile, high-quality action movies, especially ones led by men. So when I heard that there was a new Equalizer movie coming out, I was genuinely looking forward to seeing it. For those of you who are unfamiliar, The Equalizer is a film series directed by Antoine Fuqua and starring Denzel Washington, very loosely based on a rather obscure 1980s TV show starring Edward Woodward. Not to be confused with the current, separate, silly TV remake starring Queen Latifah. When the first movie came out in 2012, I was genuinely impressed by it as it had exceeded my expectations on every level. When the second movie came out, I was a bit disappointed, as it wasn't nearly as good as the first one, although still an okay movie. I had really hoped that in what would likely be the third and final installment of the series, Fuqua and Denzel would deliver a great movie that would also bring the series to a satisfying close. In this video, I will very generally discuss the main plot, discuss what I liked about the movie, what I didn't like about the movie, followed by my official score. The Equalizer 3 has our main protagonist, former CIA agent Robert McCall in Italy, taking care of, some business? However, after there's a bit of a mishap, McCall finds himself in a small town in Naples where he decides to stick around for a while. Just as McCall starts to fit in with the locals and feeling a personal connection to the small community, who gradually welcome him as one of their own, he realizes that a local mafia is causing problems there, and that doesn't sit well with him. Ultimately, as you would imagine in a movie of this genre, McCall decides to do something about it. Now let's talk about what I liked about the movie. Number 1. Denzel Washington. One of the reasons these movies work so well is because Denzel Washington is a really good actor. There's so much nuance in his performance here, and it's a level of acting we rarely see in this genre, especially these days. The only other example I can think of where a quality actor does these type of gritty action suspense thrillers is maybe Liam Neeson. And much like Neeson, even though Denzel Washington is already 68 years old, his performance here is just as strong and intense as we've grown accustomed to from an actor of his caliber. Much like the previous two installments, Denzel Washington takes material that would possibly be rather straightforward and simple and elevates it into something more. In Equalizer 3, I think that his performance is excellent. I mean, it's not exactly a surprise or anything, but it's nice to see that he's still in such good form. Number 2, Italy. I really like that they did something different in this movie by having it take place in Italy rather than in the United States. Choosing a small town in Naples adds this cool, fresh, and more international feeling, and I think this location works very well. The more time we spend in this town, the more we feel like we know it, and I think that really works to the movie's benefit. Number 3, directing. Antoine Fuqua is a competent director, as the guy who brought us movies like Training Day, also starring Denzel Washington. Much like the previous two installments, you could tell that this movie was directed by a steady hand that knows exactly what he's doing. Fuqua makes excellent use of the international location, and he also gets good performances from the local cast. The camera angles and the general atmosphere are solid, and it feels like you're watching a quality film, regardless of the genre. Number 4, Dakota Fanning. Although I wouldn't say it's exactly crucial to the film, I think that it's nice that Dakota Fanning plays a CIA agent in this movie. Years ago, as a child, she starred in the well-received movie Man on Fire with Denzel Washington, so it's nice to see this type of reunion happen 19 years later. Number 5, No Agenda. Unlike most Hollywood movies these days, this movie makes no attempt to lecture us about ideologies. It doesn't push divisive agendas either. It knows exactly what it's supposed to be, and it doesn't attempt to peddle or inject any type of heavy-handed propaganda. I suppose that seasoned veteran professionals like Washington and Fuqua have actual talents, so they simply don't need to rely on gimmicks like that. Now let's talk about what I didn't like. Number 1, the third act. This movie has a strong first act that successfully establishes the state of mind of the main character, the overall story, and geographical location. The second act continues to properly build up on the story in a good way, but my only issue with the movie is, unfortunately, the third act doesn't give the most satisfying resolution to the conflict that's built up in the first two acts. When compared to how the conflict was resolved in the first Equalizer movie, this one seems like it's a bit too by the numbers. Now, just to be clear, it's not a disaster. I still enjoy this movie and I don't regret seeing it at all. But when you have such a good director and star, and 2 acts with such a solid build-up, it is rather disappointing that the end doesn't really bring everything together in the best possible way. In that sense, it's a real shame because there's a real missed opportunity here. What could have been a very good or even excellent movie ends up just being a pretty good movie. Number 2, not a ton of action. The Equalizer movies were never meant to be non-stop action movies, but I still think that perhaps it would have been nice to see just a little bit more action in this one, especially in the 3rd act. Now, I'm not saying that there's no action, and again, I still enjoy this movie, but it is worth pointing out that perhaps we could have seen more than what we got here. Overall, The Equalizer 3 is an enjoyable popcorn movie. While it had the potential to be something more than what it is, it ultimately has enough quality here to justify its existence. If I had to give it a score, I would give it a 77 out of 100. This means that I consider it flawed, but certainly decent enough and enjoyable. What did you think of Equalizer 3? Did you love it? Feel free to let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and also clicking on that wonderful notification bell. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.